JR might be a dickhead, but apparently he's got some great friends.
How do? How do? Thank you very much, Captain Squirrel, for 2 months at Tier 2 in a
JR
row.
might be a dickhead, but apparently he's got some great friends.
And Paul 3 Keys for 9 months in a row. Thank you very much. Now, why did they re-trigger when the stream started? I'm not complaining. That's awesome. But I'm not sure why they re-triggered. Hello all. Hello Ernest Gaming, VMXEO, Paul 3 Keys, Golden Triangles, Dargenator. Welcome, welcome. Yeah. It's been a week. It's been a week. Can't tell you anything about the week, but it's been a week. What can I tell you about? What can I tell you about? Well, I can tell you that. What can I tell you? I can tell you that we have finished the Sabres. So these are the 1 to 500 Sabres. So we have print set up for them now. So we have got 4 in the pack. So we've got 3 in flight, 1 landed, which is super awesome. What else is there? We have a lot of test prints for Pisces because they're going into manufacture production at the moment. We have a Cutlass Blue all finished now. So the Cutlass Blue is manufacturing printing. So you can see it's a nice little Cylon smooth canopy. Sabre for the win, indeed. What else? Oh, we've got a little Gladius. Little 1 to 500 Gladius. That's its first print. Its wings are super thin at the moment. Super thin. But yeah, that's its first test print. So 1 to 500 Gladius is just about there. MSR print is doing at the moment, getting its panel lining sorted. So yeah, the next raft at 1 to 500 is coming nicely, which is cool. So much printing indeed. Yeah, so I'm going to just grab an MSR print. 1 second. So the fun thing with the MSR was how to break it. So that is the sort of the first test print. This is not the latest print, but the first kind of test print onto breaking it up. So that's the break. So we end up with this center fuselage section with pegs either side and the door removed so that we can print the door separately. And then basically these are 2 different wings because the MSR is asymmetrical. So that it's a complicated brake line because we're trying to sort of tuck the brake. You see, just underneath the flap there. This has still got a bit of a wobble on it. So I just need to trim the pegs. It's wobbling on its pegs. So hopefully this print that's in there at the moment has fixed that. I have also taken the engines out of it. So the reason we pull these sort of things out is that it's printing this way up. So if we have the engines in there, what happens is, see the engines just get absolutely mullered by the touch points because it's having to have so many touch points on it. So we pull the engines out, pull the door off for the same reason. Then it gives us up in there, gives us some places to put some really big touch points, and then we can also get some touch points inside. Obviously the landing gear holes are done. So we've got landing gear holes in the wings and the fuselage. So yeah, she's nearly done. She just needs... is this new resin? No, this is old resin. So, bit of an annoyance is we're having to go back from model resin to grey resin. The reason for that is, I mean, they're pretty much the same quality-wise. The model resin prints a little bit quicker, which is one of the reasons we moved over to it, but the surface quality is effectively the same. The cost is the same. Now they've brought out a new version of model resin that prints even faster, but the quality has dropped. The surface quality has dropped, and they're going to stop producing the current model resin. So It's annoying because we've started printing some stuff in model resin that we will eventually, when they stop producing the model resin that we use at the moment, we'll have to transition back to grey for them. Things like the Carrack and stuff. But they obviously, there's no point Form Labs producing two resins that effectively do the same job, which is what model and grey were basically doing. Model was just a tiny bit quicker to print. But now they've made it even faster, it has lost some of the quality. So it's just like, it's one of those things. We all have to, we all have to sort of go. So the whereas the Pisces will be grey. So the Pisces is in grey and tough. So grey and this very dark grey will be the combination for the Pisces. So that's all cool. So yeah, things are printing. Printing good. Can you print slow and still maintain the same surface quality? So in theory, the slower you print, i.e. the way that you print more slowly is that you are doing more layers. In theory, the surface quality should increase. Different resins print at different speeds. I say they've formulated this new model resin mainly for the dentistry industry, and it prints like twice as fast as grey. So if you've got limited number of printers and stuff, you get the prints very, very quick. But it is just lacking the surface quality that we like. So we can't sort of turn down the print quality, or like can't turn down the speed to increase its print quality back up. The other thing is grey resin they will always keep making forever and ever, and it's one of those things that realistically we kind of want more consistency than Form Labs are giving us with regards to these sort of like new resins and things, because we kind of want to keep this the same product over the full run of it and all the rest of it. So I think we'll be going back to grey for the time being. We should still be able to buy the model resin for another year or so, so hopefully we'll be able to print out the models that have used it. So that's fine. So what are we doing today? Well, we are doing some of the Fight or Flight trophy. So the Fight or Flight trophy is this thing here. It is a Gladius on a rock. So we have Gladius on a rock, and basically we are looking at the arse end of it at the moment, apparently. We want to separate this to get it ready for printing. So this is its sort of concept that's now done. So we kind of want to, we want to get the same sort of quality into it. So far into the future, the newer kits will not have the same service quality older ones. No, they will. So when we swap back from model to grey, the surface quality is identical. It's just the model resin prints slightly faster, so it saved us a bit of money because it saved us a bit of time. The new model resin has reduced in surface quality for even more speed, which we're not which we're not a fan of. So we'll be going back to grey to keep the surface quality. It'll just cost us a bit more time to print them. The model resin, as I say, was getting quicker and quicker, and so this new version of it is nearly double the speed. They've effectively mixed it with draft resin to get that speed, so therefore the surface quality is reduced. So there'll be no difference in the quality of the models. That's sort of like a hard limit for us. So we'll just be reducing back to the grey resin. We've done the Arrow in and the Freelancers and all that kind of stuff. The only models we moved over to Model 4 were the Cyclones, the Carrack, and the Durr. I say once you're painted, you literally can't tell the difference between them. It was just a little bit quicker. Do I have any of the new model resin? Yes, but I've painted over it, and I don't have a camera set up that you'd see the difference. I mean, we are talking. It's minor, but it just didn't pass the QA. I'll take some photos of them to kind of show you what the difference is. Oh, moving around in this is going to break my encoder, isn't it? I meant to go to software encoding. Okay, we'll just have to not zoom around a lot. So, what do we need to do? So we need to separate. This is already separated into. Should we name these? Separated into layers. Rock. Just rename them for my own sanity. And yeah, so we need to separate this out so that we've got, these are printable. I want to print them in different pieces because we're doing this kind of metallic, sort of metallic look on it. I want to be able to, I want the painters to be able to airbrush these as separate pieces and then we glue them together. So we need to separate them out so that we can do that. So I think I might want the original rock, which is the one that hasn't got the thing cut out of it. Yes, I do. So we're just going to ditch that rock. Delete. Okay, call this the rock. I will clone it so we've got a copy of it just in case we don't like what we do to it. Hide you. Okay. So, cool. Give it that. Doesn't matter what look we give it. So we'll lose a gladius for the time being and deal with these two. Now we're going to have to end up with a first, second, and third for this. So we will call this rock first, because the rock will be a slightly different print for each one, but we'll just deal with the first place at the moment. So currently what we've got is 3 models. We have a first place, a rock, and the Fight or Flight logo. Cool. Fight or Flight. Did I not do a thing for this? Fight or Flight, as I did. So, potato model kit when? So does that Fight or Flight go all the way through? Yes, it does. Okay, so we don't want that at the moment. So we're probably going to get rid of this Fight or Flight. Ooh. So we'll get rid of that. And we'll get rid of the first place. This was just more for our first visualing. So now we need to kind of do it properly. So we need to jump to... Oh, that button does that. That's annoying. So when I click F1, it's going to snap us back to there. Oh, that's so annoying. I don't know how to fix that. I've got hotkeys for import. Don't know how to turn it off. Got load hotkeys, save hotkeys. Neither of those two are useful. We'll just have to deal. Yes. First of all, we're going to do the Fight or Flight. So this goes back too far. We don't want it to go back this far. Because that is not necessary. That will be fine. So that'll be a print that slots in. We need to make the hole slightly bigger than the thing we're popping into it. So we're going to create another element here and make it ever so slightly bigger. So we don't want to go too mad, but we also don't want to make our life miserable. That should be fine. And we also need to do this one as well. Like that. We don't want to deal with this. So that's fine. So if we make that hole that is larger than the thing that we're putting into it. Just save that. Logo cut. Okay. Okay, so there we have that thing that we have just made. Why would you keep the X? Well, because otherwise it won't be there. It'll just be a hollow. That's a... We'll see. We'll see. I see what you mean. Right, so we're going to cut this away. So subtract from that. It will be quite annoying, won't it? You do... So I suppose it'll just be a void then in the top one. Be a nice shadow gap. Yeah, I'll accept that. I'll accept that criticism. Okay, so I'll just re-export that. Okay, so there we go. So that's got that in there. So that will be the same for first, second, and third. We'll now grab our actual logo. And put that back in on our logo layer. Boom. So there we go. So we've got it there, but we can sort of just about see the hole is bigger. So if we find that the hole is not big enough, we can either reprint the whole thing, or we can make the logo slightly smaller. So that's fine. So that's the actual fight or flight bit. We're going to need to hollow this rock out, otherwise it's going to be an absolutely solid rock, basically. We'll get to that in a So now we need to do the first place. So same trick. We need to come back into here. Just wait for my computer to think. Sorry, my computer's just saving things or crashing or something. It's doing something. Don't know why it's taking so long. Oh, don't crash. Just look at this while it's thinking about it. So the way the Gladius sort of comes into it, I don't know exactly how I want to get that to sit yet. So this is a 1:100 Gladius, by the way. We're obviously been working on the 1:100 Gladius, as you've seen a few times. So it's a really nice model. It's going to be the next 1:100 after the Pisces to come out. For the purposes of this project, it will be significantly less complicated than the kit model, because it's all going to be one solid piece effectively, and all like chromed, so it won't have separate canopy and all like interior and all that kind of stuff of the cockpit. So there'll be a lot of sort of time and complexity saving. Also, there's quite a lot of the aerofoils underneath that we won't see because it'll be sort of into the rock. Landing gears, all that kind of jazz won't be on it. So that will save us quite a lot of Gladius actual model when I finished it. That's dependent on so many things, I would hate to even speculate when that will be. That would be silly to promise. So first place. Again, we don't want this to be as deep. Now, obviously, this will be actually printed as 3 separate little pieces. Makes sense to launch with Squadron, yes, but we don't know when that is. So I'm not going to. We will just put it out as the next kit, I think. Not going to try and tie up with that sort of thing. That way madness lies. Right, so copy those. Again, we shall just expand this out. Like that. It is indeed folly. Indeed, that would be a bad day, I think. A bad day. Right, so we can now go in and do that. So first of all, so I'm going to copy that, because what we do want to do is have it saved at this point so that I can come back and do it for second place, etc., etc. But we'll get first place done first. So first place wants the first cut put into it. Boom. So there it sits. Subtract. Make sure we're on the right layer. There we go. So there's the cutout for first going in there. Like that. Oh, helps if I went on to that screen, then you'd be able to see. Come on, graphics card, you can do it. So there we go, so that you can just see the shadow of the first in there. We can go onto the layer of first, grab our first place thing, and then add that in. So again, that is be a separate print that pops in, so that's all fine. So that's all cool. Now we need to deal with the Gladius. So the Gladius is slightly more complicated than all that. So we need to decide how we're going to attach the Gladius into the rock. So as we can see, it's sort of... The Gladius has this weird section on the bottom of it that looks like it should be detachable, but it isn't. That is the only thing that's actually contacting with the rock. So that's quite handy. So we're going to sort of take advantage of that and use that as... So if we come into the Gladius, it's just this section underneath that we're worrying about. So it's this piece here. We don't need most of this anyway, but this is the only bit that may interact with it. So we're going to copy that, and then the rest of it can just fuck off because we don't need to know. So this is the only bit that's going to interact with the actual rock itself. Now, we could leave it the shape it is, but there's a certain degree of that's just making our life more complicated than it has to be. Let's take some of the complexity out of it. So let's take some of these features that we don't really need to be in this particular model to be in it. And then we can simplify the shape of this bottom bit and then make it a more suitable plug for what we're doing into the rock. So then it's a really easy plug and socket to use. Tis saving. Tis saving. Have we had any word on 317 yet? Are we coming towards Evo, or is it still entirely unknown? Looking forward to it. I want me Hull A. I want my Hull A so bad. Give me my Hull A, damn you. Nothing, I mean NDA. They usually announce when it goes to Evo, do they not? Yeah, I want to play with my Hull A. I'm not Eva Kochi, by the way. I don't even play stuff in the PC in the PTU. To be honest, I only really play Star Citizen in the live server, just because I have less patience for bugs than a lot of you guys. I just don't have time in my life. It sounds awful. Look, I don't have time in my life for playing a buggy game. Okay, so let's get into this one and make it unique and get in. And so I'm sort of tempted to squish it out a bit. There's a very dirty way of doing this, which we're going to try. Because it might work. It might not, but it might work. We're going to paint stuff first. So no, okay. Going to be a little bit cleverer than that, I think. So let's do that first. We're going to break a lot of things to fix it, but that's just part and parcel of Sketchup. Don't expect anything till 24, 25. Oh, okay. But I want my whole A! I'm still so fascinated to know if the whole A is going to be able to do anything in this patch. Other than we get to fly a new misc ship around, and let's be honest, that's one of the greatest things in life. Yeah. I wonder if that's going to be on the, whether it's going to get a new hotkey for it, or whether it's just going to be its, like, on the VTOL command for the time being. Because it doesn't have VTOL engines, so I suppose I could put it in as its VTOL mode. I'm hoping it gets its own hotkey. So we're just going to delete all of this, delete all of this. That's obviously sacrilege from a point of view of a model of it, but it's fine. This is not a model of a Gladius, it's a trophy with a Gladius on it. The big difference. Big difference. Okay. Nearly there. Okay, still connected. Still connected in here. I don't really want this internal shape either, so it's fine. Can all just go away. Now we play the game of where are you still connected? You were just connected there. Say me again. Turns out the Gladius model is rather difficult for such a small ship. It's not bad actually. The Gladius model is the Gladius is relatively simple as a ship, in that it doesn't have things like the arrow and stuff that had its folding wings and folding tail wings and all that kind of stuff. The Gladiator, although it has a lot of aerofoily extra wings and winglets everywhere, as a model it's relatively simple because it doesn't have moving parts in it, like the Arrow does, like the Sabre does, like the Vanguards do. Its wings are static, and that makes a huge difference to the modelling of it. So although it's a much bigger model than the Arrow, it will still fit in. We're pretty sure it's still going to fit in the small box, and will probably have less pieces than the Arrow does, even though it's a much bigger ship. I say just because these wings are two pieces. Then as I said, there's lots of tail wings and stuff, but there's no wing connectors and foldy bits and all that kind of stuff. So I do think it is a simpler ship. It should be a fairly simple ship to build as well. So it is one of those interesting things. It's not an anvil ship, it's an Aegis ship. It's mainly glued together. Anvil ships seem to be mainly magnets, and that's probably because so much of anvil ships are interchangeable. There will still be magnets in the Gladius kit, obviously, but probably just the same number that we put in with the freelancers. So basically it is landing gear, it is side ladder, and that's it. So that's all we're dealing with magnets wise, is landing gear and ladder. Just can't think of anything else that's interchangeable on it. Right, so now we've got that. Made that shape on the bottom. We can now just extrude that out that far for the time being. So we've got a straight plug that's going to go into the rock. I will say that, let's just go back. This shape here is silly. Let's not have this shape. Let's do a bit of editing here, because that would be dumb. That would be needlessly complicated. Run our solid processes. That's fine. Cool. Oh, I've not got thingy. Bloody Sketchup. It won't. There's just a few shortcuts it won't hold on to. Every single time you have to redo the shortcuts. There we go. Okay, so now we can sort of make this plug come out like that, and then what I'm going to do. Yep. Then what I'm going to do is make. I'm going to just shape the plug a little bit so it's got a taper to it, just to make it easier to slot in. There we go. So there's a certain logic to say we should have cut that all the way across, but we'll see. My Gladius will be a Scorpius in the next patch. Oh yeah, we'll get Scorpius soon. Gonna miss it. Yeah, yeah. I like the Gladius. I like the Gladius' shape. I think it's a really cool little ship. For sure. Okay, so that's it going into that rock. I might have to pull it out a little bit. Still there, I think. Saving again. Cool. So building a budget stream rig is not. Yeah. Come on, on parts picking it was being really shit as well. Yeah, it was just generally rubbish. I'm going to need mesh mixer. Which means I need to have a window for mesh mixer. We'll deal with that in a minute. While waiting for that to do, we can... no, we can't export this rock yet, can we? No, we can't, because we need this to do. This is my life, just waiting for my computer to do shit. Dear. So the reason that everything takes so fucking long with a lot of CAD programs is that CAD programs in general do not multi-core. So this is all sitting on one core in SketchUp. It's just like, just multi-core, damn you! But yeah, it doesn't. 3D Coat multi-core some stuff, but in general, most of its processes are single core. So I am looking forward to upgrading my rig to a 12900 or like 12900 sort of CPU, because it'll boost a little bit more than this. But I mean, this is a like 9900K, so it's still, this is, and it's overclocked. So I mean, it's not a slouch anyway. So I don't think it'll make a massive difference, if I'm honest. So save that. Gladius can go away. So that's our shape there for the Gladius, like fuel tank to sit in. So we can subtract that from that rock, like that. So that is what we need. So if we get rid of those two, so that we're just to the rock. Now, we need to hollow this thing, because this thing is just going to be really big and solid, and we don't want that. So we're going to need to export this as rock for hollowing. And this might break the stream. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea what this is going to do. So we do need to reduce this as much as possible, because otherwise Mesh Mixer will cry. Okay. Now we see whether we drop every frame in the world, or whether this is all on a single core. Like I say, sometimes you're absolutely fine. It takes forever because it's sitting on one core. So yeah. Oh, I played a demo which I can thoroughly recommend. Exion. It is a game based. That was quick. It's a game based in space, in this like massive space station, and it's like a resource management type game, but it's brilliant, really, really good. Thoroughly recommend it. Okay, right. I quite liked the. I'm such a sucker for that kind of game. I gotta be honest. Right. Quickest way of doing this, I think, will be just go into properties in here and click Mesh Mixer. Well, I think I broke it. Oh well. So this is Mesh Mixer. Oh god, I really broke it. No. Oh god. Okay. Let's add a. Excuse the. Live doing. There we go. Doing it live. Okay, so now in Mesh Mixer. I use Mesh Mixer for virtually nothing. I have a few tools that I use in it. One of which is hollowing. It's really good at hollowing stuff, so I tend to use it for hollowing stuff. I'll tell you what I didn't do. I didn't reduce this. I didn't scale this when I did it. It's fine though. We'll just have to do everything. So 10 mil, right? Okay, so 10 mil would be 1 mil. So that would be a 2 mil skin. 2 mil's usually enough for these things. This is quite a big trophy, so I might take it to 2.5 mil. Just because I say this is quite a big trophy. That looks nice. Right, so we've created a hollow inside it, which we now can't see. We now need to separate the shells so that we split it all off into different things. We want to delete all of the shells except the second largest one, which is our hollow. We can select all of that, flip its normals to make it a brick, and then we can re-export that back and then bring it back into 3D code. And as I say, I find Mesh Mixer is just worth having it just for that function. It's the only thing I do in Mesh Mixer. Yeah, exactly. I exported that I reduced it by 99.5%. Is it going to have scaffolding inside? It will have scaffolding inside. It has to have scaffolding inside. Just to support it as it prints. But we just don't want it to be a solid block of resin, otherwise it would be probably £100 worth of resin per trophy. Stream is fine, what broke? So that is the hollow. So then we can jump back to there, which means I can turn off that one. So now we can grab that hollow, which is there, which you can sort of see inside it. So This is taking a sort of like account of all the first and stuff. Now we'd have to do a different hollow for first, second, and third, because otherwise, you know, it won't work. But that's fine. So that's cool. So we just subtract that from that. It's just thinking about it. It's time to do 8 million polys. So there we go. So now it's hollow. Now that actually doesn't help us a lot, because the issue with it being hollow is it's a hollow block, so it'll just be a block full of resin. So we need to cut the bottom out of it. We're going to do that in SketchUp. We're going to do this, which should get us the rough bottom shape of the rock. Or 6 hours of printing. No, this will be 20 hours of printing, I would think, at a guess. Just because it's a very tall model. It's about the same height as a Carrack body, so it'll be about 20 hours. Okay, so that's the bottom footprint of the rock. So let's... Oh no, it wasn't, was it? I need to... Sorry, being a dumbass. That's been cut off the back, so I need to get rid of that. Yeah, 3D printers are many things. Quick is not one of them. For sure. For sure. Okay. Yeah, 6 hours would be a pretty fast print. Right, okay, so that's the shape of the bottom. So I'm going to want it to have a fair size base, so that it's got quite a bit to sit on. So that's fine. I would love to do a 24-hour stream at some point. Of like a one-day build type stream. Be awesome. But, you know, when we've got less other shit going on. Right, okay, so this is bottom cuts. The other thing we're going to have to do is create a bleed hole in the top, because this is going to be upside down, and if we don't, it's going to be fucking awful. Yeah, it's just not going to work. So we're going to have a hole in the top for it to as high a point as possible for it to bleed out. Probably 2. Let's put them there. Nope. Okay. Top holes. Okie dokie. So, back in 3D Coat. We can grab those. So there's our bottom cut, so hopefully this will go all the way through bottom into the void. There we go. So now we can see the hollowness. And then I say, because we're going to print this upside down, because it's a resin printer, we need some bleed holes in the top. Make sure those two holes are there. They should be fine. Let's check they aren't going to go all the way through. No, that should be fine. Doop. And that gives us our holes in the top. Wyborg, hello. Okay, so that is a hollowed out rock. Perfect for printing. Done. Save that. Now we're going to take it into Formlabs. Formlabs is going to help us set it up for actual print, and then we're going to hope to hell it fits in a printer. Yeah, we do have a bigger printer soon, which will allow us to print much bigger things. It has 5 times the print volume of our current printers, but the same quality because it's the same manufacturer. So that's quite exciting. So edit scene scale. I want this to be... I think... So... Not gonna press save again. That fucked it up, didn't it? Lessons learnt. Don't press save. Ah, dear, funny. And don't worry, nothing's happened. I clicked save and the whole world ended. So we're not going to be pressing save again. Saving is bad. Saving is bad. Cool. We'll see if it fits in. Yes, I clicked save and everything just died. So I haven't done or said anything since that happened. So don't worry. It seemed to export fine last time though, so we're going to try and export stuff. Otherwise there's not a lot we can do. So we do want it to be a little bit bigger this time. It's about that sort of big. So let's see if we break everything again. This is the problem with software that does a whole lot of bullying to the system. Yes, I think I'm going to have to go back to dual PC streaming. It's just such a pain. Audio is just fucking ridiculous, and yeah, never works, always breaks. But it's fine. I shall grab another rig and we'll do a dual PC streaming in. Tis what it is. What I'll be tempted to do is effectively stream from this computer and just bounce it through another rig. The rig downstairs, Callie's rig, to do it. Because what I don't want to do is yeah, I don't want to have to do loads of source mirrors and all that kind of shit. So I will literally just bounce this feed to another rig, and then that rig can bounce it on. So if mine does freeze up, because that's the thing, this will still freeze up the images, and I suppose I could run my camera in so you can still see me and my audio maybe, but like the screens will still freeze when this rig is thinking. So it doesn't really help us from that point of view. Right, we're going to do another thing, don't we? Another Windows capture of PreForm. Doing it live. This is a bastard as well, this piece of software. This does multi-core. Which is, oh great, multi-cores. Great for streaming. Multi-core, great for streaming. Dear. Okay. And death. I don't know if you can still see me or not. I'm getting a few drop frames. It might be okay. We'll see. I'm going to click repair and then everything's going to die. Please don't die. Please don't die. Oh no, we're okay. It's repairing. So some things are just instant death and some things are fine. Yeah. It's it's what I say. It's one of those things. It's one of those. There's nothing you can do about it. I say other than dual PC streaming again. We did obviously use the dual PC stream here, but the issue was that we needed another rig in the workshop. So it's not going to fit. Well, that was inevitable. It's quite big. So this will be going in the new printer because this be too big. So as you can see, that's sort of the size of it. So it's 220 milliliters, which is okay. But it ain't gonna fit. No matter what we do to it, it ain't gonna fit. I don't want to split this rock up. This is a thing. I desperately don't want. The original plan was to split this rock up because we did think it would be too big to fit in the printer. Because we've got this bigger printer on the horizon, and we will have it before Fight or Flight. It'll be the first thing that we print in it. Fine. We could actually set it up for it. Interestingly, because we can click Form 3L. What will we be printing it? Oh, that's a good question. What will we be using in this printer? Probably draft resin, draft V2, because that one's going to be. Yeah, you probably could print all three at once. So we're going to do draft at. Let's see what draft at 100 microns looks like. Hey, it fits! So this is the 3L. I've not actually played with this. So this is the printer we're getting. So this line down the middle that says laser seam is because this has 2 LPUs in it. So you actually get this line down the middle of the print. I don't know how egregious that line is, but obviously it tries to encourage you to not stick things on that line if you can help it, or to just be aware that that might form a line. So in our case, we would try and either push it down to one side or probably put it on this side so the seam would be there. The issue is, obviously, if you do put it all on one side, it's only one LPU's working, so it'll print slower. You print faster if you put it there, because then both LPUs would be printing, so it'll go twice as quick. So we could do this as an experiment if it doesn't crash it. So if we put it all the way there, yes, or print 2. I don't want to print 2 to start with, because this would be literally the first print we do in this printer. So I'm not going to try my luck. So this needs to be supported. So I kind of want to have it a bit like that. God, this printer is mahoosive. Right, okay, so let's put it on mini raft. Let's edit the touch points. I've never used draft resin before, so I'm not going to be stingy with the touch points. At the end of the day, I'm not too worried about time in a way on this, because at the end of the day, this would be an ideal first print for our new printers, in that it's something that doesn't fit in our current printers, which is the reason that we're getting this other one. But I will want to ease into it a little. If it prints one, fine. We've got 3 to do. We can put the other 2 in at once. See what happens. It's one of those things you really don't want a failed print, because then you've wasted a lot of resin and a lot of time, and you've got to clean it up. And cleaning resin printers up is a pain in the ass. Gotta be honest. Okay, so we've gone around the outside, and we're going to put I mean, we can put this on a flat sanding disc to sand all these touch points off, because it's a flat bottomed thing. I think it would be, yes, I would agree, but I guess that's the wrong orientation for the LPU. Otherwise, I'm sure they would have done so. The thing to bear in mind, and I'll explain why they've put it this way around, is that this, if you put it the other way around, it would make the printer a lot slower, which sounds really counterintuitive, but I'll explain why. So the LPU is basically a box with a laser inside it and a convex mirror. So if you imagine the LPU is along the long range with its mirror inside it, it can bounce the laser one end to the other virtually instantaneously, but to go on the x-axis it has to physically move the whole LPU with stepper motors. So its travel time, effectively the travel time of the laser dot in this direction, is like 100 times slower than in this direction. So it would make the whole thing a lot slower if it was the other way around, basically. It just means, I don't know how bad this seam is. Like, for all I know, it could just be like a slightly worse print line. We don't know yet because we've not played with it. I know a lot of people complained when they were in the beta testing phase of the printer. That was over a year ago now. For science! Indeed, for science. So this draft resin isn't as good surface quality, but it obviously prints a lot faster. But a couple of layers of primer filler. Obviously this is a fairly big rock where, you know, we can be a little bit thicker with the paint than you would on a kit model, so we'll be fine. We won't use it for the Gladius bits. We will use our normal resin for that. Put a few touch points on the inside. Draft resin also doesn't need as much support as well because it's a tougher resin. We are going to put a few running up the back there. Some big ones on the back. Little letters. Maybe it won't. See what it thinks about the printability of that. Just give it a moment to think. It's currently reckoning its estimated time is 25 hours. We'll click work out on that. And I say, then we'll move it across the line and see how much that changes, because it should, in theory, be a lot. It should, in theory, be a lot faster in the other position. I think. The whole thing, the LPUs would hit each other if they literally went, like, one's got to go over the line to do it, so it won't be half the speed, like, it won't be half the time, because the LPUs can't physically go. Well, I suppose one could start in the middle and then they could do that in unison as long as the thing is wider than the LPU is, maybe. We'll find out. Okay, we are going to need a little bit more. So all the red area here is stuff that it thinks, no, I'm not particularly happy with the amount of support I've got. We'll put some up this face. Not too big. Put some 70s going up this face. Again, we've got to be fairly robust on the supporting of this. It is a huge thing. And this is the thing. There's a big difference between printing something that's a product for our kit models and something that's a one-off that our model makers are going to be cleaning up. Because obviously we can afford a much more labor-intensive cleanup on a one-off than we can on a product. We're trying to make your lives easy. We don't need to make our model makers' life as easy, because that's what they do. It's cheaper to pay them to do an extra couple of hours cleanup than it is for us to spend days designing something that realistically we're only going to print one or two of. So then we can get on the inside of this. I don't want internal supports at the moment, so these will go red if they're internal supports. There's nothing wrong with internal supports, but I'd rather have non-internal supports. So an internal support is a support that would go from that point to another point on the model, and not stick out the bottom. We want them to come and stick out the bottom, because then they're actually going all the way onto the actual print bed rather than just onto another bit of the model. Okay, let's try that. Oh, it can do the supports on its own. It's just shit at it. I just don't like. I don't like automated stuff. I could click it, and it would just put them on where it thinks it needs it, but it wouldn't put them in places that would make it easy to remove them. Because I know what the hero surfaces are. So we do not use the automated scaffolding. Because it will just put it on the faces we want to save. So I'm trying to be careful to put when I'm putting them on these faces, I'm making sure I'm putting them on the very flat bits of it, because we're going to have to sand them. Yeah. Just working out its printability. I'm so excited for this printer. Oh my god, it's so big. It's so big. You can pretty much get a helmet in it, which is quite nice. Okay, so we've still got a bit in there. This model's so big. Okay, so we're going to have to allow it to do internal supports, and support the crap out of this. Internal supports do still support it. It's just not as... And the other thing, sometimes, because it's building trees of supports, sometimes some of the ones that it thinks aren't external supports, when it actually does the trees, it tries to prioritize and make them attached to the other trees. So all of those trees together, I'll show you what I mean in a minute, we'll find that a lot of these will all interconnect. So that will give us the overall support that we're looking for. So that's fine. Just wait and see what it can come up with. Right, the big helmet. It won't be a big helmet. I'm going to get a heavy duty helmet in it. But saying that, we would never print a helmet in one go anyway. We've always got panels on it. But the main thing that this printer is going to be used for is printing one-offs like this, casting masters for larger kit models, and yeah, having a look at what are the larger products we could do. We're very unlikely to print kit model parts in this new printer. It will be used to create casting masters for doing so. I'm going to put a couple inside here, which are going to be a knife job to get out, but we do need to support them. And I think it's just about all the red areas gone. Yeah, so we'll be using it for a lot of stuff, but we will have to be careful about not relying on it to actually produce kit model parts, because it will be too big and too expensive to actually print kit model parts in this. But it will allow us to start looking at things like the 890 and the Idris and these bigger ships, because we will be able to actually put they will fit inside this printer, so we can make casting masters, so we can cast these hull sections. And these big ships, I don't foresee us doing 500 of. That is the other thing to remember. I think any ship that needs to fit in this printer will probably be only 150, maybe 125, maybe only 100. Yes, the wiggly hose bit. Yeah, you could print a wiggly. I mean, there is flexible resin. I mean, the other thing, if you were going to do it, so the way you would do the wiggly hose bit is you would print it in a resin, take a cast of it, and then use a rubber. Or if you wanted to actually make it look like it had all the links in it, what you would do is you would print each of the links to go into a mold with a core of silicon. So you'd pour silicon onto the inside of it, so silicon would flex but hold all the parts of the hose together and allow it to move. So you can do it without having to physically make hinges all the way through it and stuff. Just have them sort of just all placed sort of 3 mil apart on the inside, and then you say you cast a soft silicon inside it. So that would give you that sort of hybrid flexibility. Right, cool. That seems to be pretty happy. Let's apply that. Smart, yes. Thank you. We've done these tricks before. That's the cool thing about it. It's the same way we've done the Carrack bridges. To be able to cast one material inside a cast with another material means it's amazing what you can make when you start using two materials cast together, so that they're one thing, because that's when you really start to play around with the physical properties of it to great effect. So let's turn this around so those stick on that side. So we're going to risk pressing save. 3L print. Don't die, don't die, don't die. So what we're going to do is click print time. And it's going to now try and calculate the print time. And this will give us a more accurate print time. And then we're going to move it and see where we're placing it on the plate, how that makes a difference. It's going to be tricky, I think, to... We could... I say we can put 2 of these on. I think it'd be tricky to fix a seam that goes all the way around it. So I think I'd rather sacrifice the time and just print it effectively in one of the LPUs on this particular printer. The capacity of this printer allows us to do some quite interesting stuff. I say I really do want to start looking at the 890 because I know that is a ship that a lot of you guys want. But I say we are definitely not going to be doing 500 of them. Right, okay, so that came out at 21 hours 56. Hiccup. Oh, yeah, okay. So that's interesting. So I didn't get any drop frames, bizarrely. Interesting. So having it there is 21 hours. So if we put it there, which I suppose is the most across its LPUs. Yeah. And we're going to click print time again. So 21 hours was the last calc. So we'll see. We shall see. So this is, I say, this is orientating it so that it can utilize both its LPUs. Yeah, it fits into a 24-hour stream. So the L might be easier to film it working as well because it's so big. You could actually fit cameras inside it, I think. Certainly GoPros. So yes, it's probably doable. So this would give it a seam right up the middle, which, again, the seam might not be awful. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we could sneak a webcam into it. I said it's so big. If we attached it on the inside of the canopy and routed the wire around, I'm sure there'll be a gap big enough to sneak a wire out. We could have a camera inside it. It's tricky with the 3s and the 2s because they are... you'd be so close focused. 19 hours 19. So it only saved us 2.5 hours. And we get a seam through it. So is that worth it? Nope. Is that worth it? So what I would be interested in is if this was 21 hours, what's this? Because move that round. Because this, although it doesn't really matter that it supports Clash, this would be at printing effectively 2, but on different LPUs. So to my mind, that should effectively be easier for it, maybe. So we'll see. So it's 21 hours 50 for one of them. What will 2 of them be? I think maybe under 24 hours. I think. I'm going to bet 24 hours. No, 34 hours. 34 hours. So, yeah, so it really doesn't make a huge amount of difference. If we're honest. Oh, no, it's still calculating print time. Ignore me. Still doing it. Sorry. I was being unfair to it. Still thinking. 34 was its random guess. Still thinking, still thinking. This is very good slicing software. It's really annoying that you can't use PreForm for other printers because it's so good. But obviously it's proprietary to PreForm to Formlabs, and they don't want other people to use it because it's so good. But yeah, it is what it is. So they're coming out at 250 milliliters each, which is a quarter of a cartridge. Also going to have to be really careful with them and let them drip for a long time because, yeah, they're going to be full of resin. Could probably capture that amount of resin as well. But that'll mean once we've got the Gladiuses and the other bits, probably less than... We're probably talking about £200 worth of resin for the 3 trophies. Which isn't horrendous. 23 hours 30. So there we go. So to print 2 of them only costs us another 2 hours on top of printing 1 of them. So there we go. So yeah. So the plan would be print 1 of them, see how it comes out. If it's fine, print 2 of them. And you would obviously just about get 4 of them in this printer. You get 3 of them in, because you can put 1 that way. So you could get all 3 in at one go, if we wanted to, but I wouldn't print all 3 at once, just in case there was a problem. So yeah, so that will be the first print our new printer does. We'll be rocking this big-ass trophy. Look how much bigger it could be. This printer's huge. But yeah, so that's really cool. Yeah, so let's we don't want to save that. Let's bring us back to a 3 in grey resin. Because we don't need a 3L to do these other bits. So we need these 2 bits, which I'm going to do one at a time. Okay, so that's one piece. And then our first. Now, obviously, this is 3 separate pieces. We will export it as one piece, and we'll just rig it. They'll be far enough apart. Obviously, it'll be 3 separate things, but why not just have it as one file to send to the printer? It'll make our lives a little bit easier. So that's fine. So that's cool. So we'll jump back to PreForm. So we're back to our teeny tiny 3. These will obviously fit. These are little bits. That's cool. Don't panic. That doesn't seem to be the right size, does it? They look way too small now. There. There we go. Now what's going on there? There we go. So, these are our fight or flights. So for this, what's the front? Scar is on the right hand side. This is the front. So we want to tilt it back so all our touch points are on the back. This obviously. So we want to tilt it as far forward as possible so that we have as many as many print lines on the face as possible, i.e. the more there are, the closer they are together. Does that make sense? I suppose we could print them dead flat. No, let's not do that. So, stick all these on. Hello, Haskell. Yes, fight or flight. I think you made this logo, didn't you? No, I really like this logo. I have no complaints at all. I'm just going to sneak some smaller touch points just on these faces. These we are going to do solid because they're not that big. Not too worried about that. I'll just catch that there. And some more on the back. Little ones. We can just power sand the back, so it's fine. Doesn't matter if we have a few. Rather have more stability on the back. Cool. And then do the same on this one. Up the touch points again. Okay, there we go. So that is fight or flight insert. I think I might have a printer that this can go, and it's not turned on. We're going to turn it on. I do indeed have. Yeah, so why print rather than laying flat? So if we laid it flat, if we laid it perfectly flat and built it straight onto the build platform, you can get away with it, or it'll cup around the build platform because we want to insert it into something. Be a lot of fucking sanding. So that I don't want to avoid that. If you have it like that and then put support points on the bottom, that first layer that it tries to put of that, it's effectively a tenth of it's like 100 micron layer of resin that's perfectly flat, and when it pulls it out of the pool of resin, the weight of the liquid resin on top of that film will puncture it. So, and then it'll come and keep doing that. So the back of it will just be this really horrible gunky mess. So you really want to, as Dash says, start with a smaller surface area as possible. So as we come up here in the slicer, these are the layers it's starting to print. So the first layers of it actually printing the trophy are just here, these tiny little bits, so not a lot of surface tension, and then it's sort of going to grow it up the side of it. Whereas if we had all of that on that first one, you've basically got this film, and it just doesn't work. 45 degrees is a nice angle, because then if we tilt this too far flat, we'll end up with not many actual layers on the face, so you'll see them like steps. So we want to try and tilt it as upright as possible, because that puts more layers on the face of it, and therefore the more layers there are on that angle, the smaller the print lines will be. So it's but we also don't want to have as many touch points on these faces that we're putting in. So we're sort of best of both worlds, putting most of the touch points on the back, because that's easier to sand off and it's not visible once it's into the trophy. And yeah, so there's a lot to consider when you're sort of setting up which way you want to send it. Gusty Panda. Let's send it to Gusty Panda. There we go. One question. Yes. Stage of printing on paper. Yes, Dodge, what is your question? Are print lines more visible on the top of the print or the bottom in terms of orientation? Same. Doesn't make any difference, if I understand what you're saying. So as you go up, it doesn't matter. It's yeah, all the layers are the same. Cool, so that's sent to that printer, so we can click go on that. And I say we've got it set up for the 3L, which is a printer we don't own yet. But that's cool. And then the Gladius itself, we still need to tweak around with. Like on the face facing the print plate, no, it doesn't really make any difference. I say, as long as the issue with the face facing the print plate is more likely to have the touch points on, but from a layering point, from a layer line point of view, it's the same. The biggest issue with those underside bits is making sure you've cleaned all the resin out of it. That's why we have 3-stage washers set up for our printers, because just putting it in one wash the one time, even if it's for quite a long time, the actual act of pulling the print in and out of the washers, with it draining and all of that sort of a liquid running down the surface as it comes out, is a really good way of cleaning it. I wish there was a way of programming the washers to basically do a triple dunk. So obviously you press go and it lowers it in, and then when it's finished swooshing it sort of lifts it back out. I wish it would, like, to start with, put it in and out like 3 times, to get that sort of like you would if you were dunking it in a bucket, and then do it, and then kind of do the same on the way out, because that would actually, you get a lot more resin coming off when you do that. It would be really useful. Obviously it would reduce the life of the motor, but yeah, be fine. Cool. So that is that. That was easier than I expected. Yeah, I've just got to stand there and do it, though, haven't I? I just want to press go and fuck off. This is the problem. I don't have to do that on all the. It's annoying, because you should be able to program it to do it. But yes, I could just click cancel and then cancel and then cancel, and then it'd be fine. So yeah, so that's them set up. We'll save that. And yeah, right, cool. That was relatively painless. Let's see if there's anyone to raid, and we shall see you next week. Next week will be Star Citizen shenanigans, kind of on a alternate shenanigan at the moment, just because we are in the middle of this huge job, so there's not a lot we can show you at the workshop at the moment because it's full of this job. It's amazing, but full of this job. So let's raid Mr. Meyer. He's playing Red Dead. And yep, say hi. He knows who we are. But yeah, say hi. And yeah, we will see you next week for some Star Citizen shenanigans. If you want to take part in the Star Citizen shenanigans, then just drop your Star Citizen handle into the appropriate channel in our Discord server, and we'll add you as a friend and get you in. And yeah, we'll go from there. But yeah, thank you very much for tuning in, and we shall see you next time. Taddy bye.